All right. So, Thomas, why don't you introduce our next film?
So the next film was probably I think this is probably my most anticipated film besides Dune, probably for this year. This is The Green Knight, based on the 14th century poem, which I also adore. It's my second favorite Arthurian knight's tale, called Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. It's directed by David Lowery, who is from Texas. He's a DFW resident, and a lot of the post production for this movie actually took place in Dallas. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Cool.
This guy directed Ghost Story. I didn't know that, or
Yeah.
a Ghost Story. So,
he's also
this is
directing Peter and Wendy, which is like the live action Peter Pan coming to Disney.
Gross.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe they learned from Cruella, Michael. Maybe they learned.
Are you kidding
Don't
me?
retell a story. Do something new.
It's true. Do something new.
Believe
It's
it
true.
when I see it.
This
with you.
is kind of an epic fantasy folklore tale, I want to say. It takes place, the opening of this movie takes place on Christmas, and they're having a Christmas feast in Camelot, and Arthur who is played incredibly by Sean Harris. I think I liked him a lot in that. And he asks his knights to tell him a tale of like any great deeds, and nobody can come up with anything. And then suddenly bursting through the doors comes this Green Knight dressed in all of like a woody moss green, looking like something that was carved out of a tree. Awesome character design, and asks for a challenger, saying, if anybody can land a blow against me, you can have my axe, but I have to, in 1 year's time, I get to return the favor. I'm sorry, 1 year and 1 day hence is what he says. I get to return the blow. And so no knight steps forward, and Gawain, played by Dave Patel, having been unproven, says, I'll do it. And Arthur gives him Excalibur, which I thought was a really cool scene in there too. He basically challenges the knight and lops off his head. And to everybody's surprise, the Green Knight picks up his head and says, 1 year hence, and rides away laughing, which I thought was awesome. And so 1 year later, Gawain has to meet his challenge at the Green Chapel and make his way there. On the way, he is accosted, I thought rather weirdly, by that guy from Killing of a Sacred Deer, who I think is just like the creepiest kid in like the entire planet.
Yeah.
And then he takes his axe and runs away with it. Don't know why that happened, but it happened. He also meets.
He reminds me of that kid from Luca, where he looks like he could be a kid, and he looks like he could be 40. I don't know.
This is also the middle age. He might be 13, but he also looks 40. So I mean, There you go. And along the way, he also goes into a house where he meets a ghost named Winfred, which I'm not sure. I'm not sure where this came from, because I did too. I don't really know why this scene was in here. It's not in the poem. I really have no idea where this scene came from.
It needed some filler.
He also I guess so. Well, he also meets his furry fox friend, and I don't know why you would ever throw a rock at a fox, but this monster apparently does. But then he instantly befriends it, and I was like, "Oh!"
He cut off a giant tree man's head. Whenever the guy was like, "You can give me a paper cut if you want." The guy's a monster, proven from the beginning.
True, it's true. And then what else? Does anything else happen besides meeting those massive giants, which I thought was just an awesome image?
Oh, he goes to the house with the.
I know. Before that,
no, I don't think so.
The super soldier serum girl.
Giants after that?
No,
they're not. Okay,
no, because the house is almost at the end.
You're right.
Yeah, because then he goes to this lord's house, and accepts sanctuary there. and he meets the Lord, his wife, and an old crone. And the Lord is a very avid hunter, also played by Joel Edgerton. And also he also played Gawain in a movie, so that was kind of cool.
Guess he didn't do a good enough
and
job. They didn't want him
he
back.
didn't die. He didn't die. So hey, how do you pronounce her name?
Alicia
Who
Vikander.
plays Vikander? Yeah, she plays a lady. And then the Lord also asks, or like has like this little wager with Gawain. Says like, if anything that I catch, I'll give to you. Anything that you get, you give to me. And then his wife proceeds to seduce him, which apparently we now know that Michael would completely and totally give into that seduction.
If anyone said they wouldn't, they're lying through their teeth. Absolutely. That whole scene, you're just like,
It'd be hard not to.
It's a knight. He's supposed to be chivalrous.
Yeah.
No amount of righteousness can withstand that force. My God.
Oh man.
That deep V.
I've such a weakness for him. I have such a weakness for them.
Yeah, we also learned that Michael's like weakness is the deep V. So yeah. And he kind of gives in, sort of weirdly.
She kind of
really
forces
go
the issue.
He gives into a belt.
I was just like, you don't feel like. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Gawain's mother is Morgan Le Fay, and she gives him this green sash, and says, "If you wear this all the time, you'll be protected." And he loses the sash while he gets, accosted, and then, the Lord's lady has a belt similar to it. She says, like, "Oh, I made this." It's clearly the same belt though. And then after she straight up like forces him. Like that was not a consensual thing. She gives him his belt and says, "You're no true knight," because he doesn't have any chivalry. And then he goes off to meet the Green Knight at the Green Chapel. And in a very awkward scene between Joel Edgerton and Dave Patel, he asks him for, "Give me what you got, and I'll give you what I got." And he caught his little fox friend, and then he kisses him. I'm going to get to that later. Anyway, for the rest of the summary, he meets the Green Knight. He flinches when the Green Knight tries to strike him, and he ends up running away and having this entire epilogue, basically, of him becoming king after King Arthur. And then apparently he didn't do a good job at becoming king, though, because his kingdom gets overthrown. And at the very end, he takes off his sash and his head falls off because of that blow that he should have gotten. And then we all learned that it was all a dream. And it comes back, and he takes off the said sash so it protects him against all harm, and faces his doom with his head bowed and ready to go. And the Green Knight says, "Well, off with your head, sir." And that's how the movie ends. I love the Green Knight's voice. He's such a good voice. This movie was... I liked this movie a lot because it was weird. I like weird movies. I'm not gonna lie. Also, this poem is one of my favorite things kind of written, because it's a story. Like, the original poem is about a hero that's not perfect, because Arthurian legends are kind of weird, because Arthur is like the stepping stone for like a ton of authors to just write their own crap. And so this is where Gawain and the Green Knight came from. We don't know who wrote it. It's an anonymous poem. It was in the same library, which I learned, as the same library as Beowulf, the first written copy of Beowulf, and they both survived the same fire, which I think is awesome, because I love the epic tale of Beowulf as well. But the main focus of the story of Gawain is, even though you're not perfect, you try. You have to try to be as noble as you can. And in the poem, it's a little different from when he meets the Lord and the Lady. There's no outright seduction, really, of Gawain. It's more subtle. And he ends up giving the Lord a kiss because he receives a kiss from the lady 3 times, and that's how you do it. And the way that the poem ends is that he faces the Green Knight. The Green Knight hits him a little bit. He like nicks him on the neck, and then he reveals, or he kind of shames Gawain because he knew he had that green sash on him that would protect him from all harm, and that's why he received the nick. But he says, even though you're imperfect, you're still here. Is that he always tried. Gawain always tried. And I like that. It's one of the first imperfect hero tales, I think, because if you go like with a lot of like chivalric knights and like stories, no knight can do any wrong. That's how like the code of chivalry is, oh yeah, we always protect the innocent. We'll never do anything bad. And Gawain is one of the first stories where the hero is not amazing. He's just him. He's just Gawain. And this movie kind of touches on that a little bit with when King Arthur asks Gawain, like, tell me something about yourself. Tell me something like a tale of yourself. And he's like, I don't have anything to tell yet. And Guinevere goes like, yet. You don't have anything to tell yet. And it's always him trying. I really liked that. Also, this story had like a ton of like old school like Celtic folklore. Like Merlin looked awesome because he looked like a Pict. Morgan Le Fay looked great. I even like how, because this is like years after Arthur's prime. He's dying. He's clearly dying because the land is dying, that kind of thing. And they even talk about, hey, Gawain, sit at my side because we always keep an empty seat for the one that we don't talk about. The one they don't talk about is Lancelot. He's gone. He's off doing something
they
else.
said that, though, in the movie. Didn't they say Lancelot's gone or something?
I don't think they said Lancelot. They say like the person.
Oh,
And
okay.
I think it's because he can't bear to say his name. But I love that the land is dying. Clearly, the land is not well, and so is Arthur. And I also really, really liked the crown. I loved the crown design because it
that
looks
was
like
cool.
the iconography, like from like those old school like Catholic halos. It looks so
totally looked
cool.
like that.
It was such a good design. Like the production design of this movie is just fantastic. I didn't really like the ending all that much because I don't know if it says like he's. I understand like the movie is saying he's still not perfect, but it's almost like he never tries to be perfect. He wants to be better, or not be better. He wants to be a glorious knight, and I never really got that he just wanted to be a better person in the movie until maybe like the very last part where he takes it off. It says, "Go ahead, do it," because that's not in the poem. He wears the sash, and then the green sash is then copied by all the other knights because Gawain is a hero now. But I thought Dave Patel did a really good job in this. I think this is like one of his first big roles. I know he did like Lion with Nicole Kidman. He's pretty good in that. But this is the one where he's like completely Slumdog Millionaire, I guess.
That's him.
I really don't like that movie.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's really young in there.
Little baby.
Yeah. But this one, I think he really just upped it, and I think he did a great job. There's a lot I want to say, but I want to hear a bit more with you guys because I like to discuss it. So I'm going to kick this one to let's do Jared because you've read the poem.
Yeah, I have. I'd say I like the poem a little bit more than the movie.
Same.
I wasn't blown away by this movie. I think I hyped it up too much in my mind.
People hyped it up too much, but we'll get to that.
I think I went in wanting something completely different than what I got. That being said, I did like a lot of the visuals. I know that the ghost part wasn't in it, but I did like that whole scene. It was kind of cool. As soon as I saw
when he's underwater, that was a cool like visual.
Yeah.
I really like that.
as soon as I saw the Giants, I was just like, I just thought Attack on
That's
Titan.
Oh, yeah.
I just wanted him to like rope up there and. But I did like the visual of that too, just like these roaming giants, and he almost got squished, but his fox was like, no. I thought they could have handled the fox a little bit better. Not him before, like when he started talking.
Yeah.
I didn't really like that. I don't like the direction they went with that.
So
I think they could.
So two things. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I think they could have done it like The Witch, where it was just like kind of a disembodied voice, but it was you could clearly tell it was coming from the animal. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I did a little reading up on this too, because the ending is different because in the poem it's the Lord that offers him like, hey, you don't have to go because anybody who's basically saying or going into this, I'm gonna die. I'm going off to here to get my head chopped off. It's like I won't tell anybody that you didn't go. Nobody will blame you for this. And turns out like that's his mom speaking through the fox. But which I really didn't get why they didn't do it that way either, because the crone is actually supposed to be Morgan Le Fay as well.
Yeah.
Because she's doing this whole thing to get back at Guinevere for being a horrible person. So I that didn't really translate very well, but I did like that they had the offer.
They were very subtle about that whole like the double identities of everyone, because like even the Green Knight, she says someone.
Yeah,
but they don't even like really reveal it at the end who it is. But I guess you're just supposed to put it together.
In the poem, it's the Lord.
Yeah.
Is the Green Knight,
which is so weird.
So,
like Thomas was talking about, in the poem, you get a sense of the main character wanting to improve, wanting to be better, and in this movie, you don't get that. And unlike most people who like a flawed hero, I want a hero that's perfect. That's just me, I think, because from all like anime and stuff like that, because you want to look up to here. You don't want to like be. I don't want to like be like, oh, that's just me. I could do that, but if I tried, like, kind of, I want him to be like an actual like figure, like a myth. I don't know if you get what I'm saying, but I like when they're.
Feel what you're putting
Captain
down.
America.
Yeah. So that's why I kind of like the poem more. But like, I don't have much to say, but I do like the visuals of this movie. I just didn't get what I wanted from this movie.
I liked everything up until like the last maybe 15 minutes is what I didn't like. That's where it kind of started to fall apart.
Yeah.
Because they didn't really translate the meaning of the poem very well, I think.
Yeah.
Even though I did love the line when the Green Knight just like wakes up, it's like, "Sir, is it Christmas?"
I did like the beginning with the duck and the dog just having
to mention
that was cool.
Just having beef with each other. I like that. And
the true meaning behind that scene, guys. Let's really
that's the deepness.
If you can decode that, which I think Michael will when we go to him.
I don't even remember what.
If you can decode that, you get everything.
What duck?
Turns out that duck was a goose.
Yeah.
In the beginning, there's like a goose, and he's like harassing this dog.
It's a goat.
Yeah.
Goat.
The goat. It's like beating the crap out of this goat.
Yeah.
Goose suck, man.
One thing I do want to give credit to, I do like movies when you're not sure what's real and what's not, and this kind of did it well. But yeah, I don't have much more to say, so I'm gonna throw it to. Let's throw it to Michael and see if he decoded that scene.
I have
You didn't remember it.
I didn't remember the scene. This is one of the most frustrating movies I've seen in a long time. I was very frustrated outside of this movie, and Thomas explained a lot of what frustrated me right there, because that's my biggest problem with this movie is I really dislike the main character. I did not like him at all. Like, and then that's not. I love main characters. I'm a main character person, but my whole time I'm thinking, why are they not making him like sympathetic or like I don't mind that he's flawed, and how Thomas is describing the poem is how I wanted the movie to be. I wanted me to be like, oh, he's trying, but no, he was just an a-hole. This guy's an a-hole from the beginning to end. There was no point to anything of him being this like throwing a rock at a fox, chopping his head off. There's no like I just saw greed in him the entire time, from the beginning, not even the sex scene. Like like whenever he saw the guy, he's like, oh, I could jump off his head. I could be famous. I could be a big star. Woo woo. That's all I saw was just some bratty little snot nosed.
He truly was the Green Knight.
He was a green little fart, and that
green with envy.
It frustrated me so much. Like literally from the point where he chops off his head, I don't like the movie until they get to the house. I don't like any of it. A lot of pointless stuff, in my opinion. Like, there's a lot of cool visual stuff, sure, but there's zero substance to me. Like, there's no point to literally any of it. Like, if you're trying to give some weird message, it failed to me. Like, there's just so much. I'm like, you're just wasting my time. There's so much wasted time from that point to the next point. And then it gets super intriguing because Joel Edgerton is freaking incredible in this movie. He does, of course, he plays such a good that like Alex and I were talking about in The Great Gatsby. This is a lot of the same character, like this bombastic, loud guy. He does that character so well. And one thing I really enjoyed about this movie was the fact that it's good and bad. It feels like a nightmare. Like the entire movie feels like you're in a nightmare, and it's just like things unexplained. You're like, what is happening? This doesn't follow the rules of reality. And I really like that aspect of it. The ending
Joel Edgerton always plays a character where I have no idea what the character's like. I don't trust him.
His motivation.
100%. 100%. Yeah, that perfectly.
He's always
that.
shifty.
But and then going to the end, I liked you explaining it more of like contrasting the poem that makes sense. I think I would have. I like the idea of him seeing this future and then deciding to take it off. That's kind of interesting to me. And then assumedly he chops his head off at the end. But I don't know, man. This movie, like, we were driving back and I just kept saying, I was like, I'm so frustrated right now. Like I was so frustrated in the car going on with Alex. I was like, there's so much good in this movie, so much interesting stuff. But I think it was just mainly that thing of I could not stand the main character. Like the whole thing, I'm like, I don't care about him. Like he could just drop down a rock and die. I do not care. It was such a weird, because like even all the people around him coming up, like I don't know, like his mom was sleazy. Everyone around him it was just like a bunch of gross people, and I'm like, this is like King Arthur. The Round Table is supposed to be like a cool, like interesting, like I don't know, like there was no him seeing King Arthur and wanting to be King Arthur, wanted to be a good knight. It was just, oh, I want that guy's power. That's all I saw. It was just like. It was just nasty. I didn't like it just felt nasty the whole time. And then that led into the rest of the nightmare of a movie. But I don't know, man. This movie, it frustrated me so much. It's because I was really looking forward to this. I was really looking forward to this movie more than because I was looking forward to Pig, but I was looking for this more. And man, just I don't know. There was just so much of it that frustrated, and it was too long. Definitely too long.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much. There's a lot of like panning scenes. I'm like. Okay, you saying this was his first film, or was that Pig? Pig was first film.
Pig was his first film.
Okay, never mind.
Pig was his first film.
So this guy's no excuse.
Yeah, this guy's
like,
been around.
There's a lot of like artistic panning shots. Like you're getting Nomadland, but Nomadland has a vibe it's going for that nailed it with that. This you're just like, look at the colors. And I'm like,
you should
wasting my time.
Probably not watch A Ghost Story if you haven't seen it from him, because you would not like it.
Sounds like it. If it's anything worse than this.
But... Watch nothing by Tarkovsky ever. All his stuff is panning shots.
Well, the thing about A Ghost Story 2 is it's very frustrating because the last 5 minutes are useless and like stupid.
That's what I felt
It's like a monologue by some druggie, and you're just like.
That's what I felt like the middle. How do I explain that? The point from when he gets his head off to the house, like that little section just felt so pointless and useless. You said something there. I was going to reply to it, and I forgot what it was. Oh well, I don't know. I'll throw it to Joseph. We'll let Joseph. Before I remember what I was gonna say. I do want to watch this. I have a way to watch this again that I want to watch it. I'll let Alex explain that later. And so I do want to see this movie again because I really want to try and digest it more. And because people are raving so much about it, and people I know that have seen it that I trust with movies are loving it. And I'm like, maybe I'm missing something here. So I want to go back and watch it again. So maybe eventually one
Read
of
the
my
poem.
Well, I do want to read that. The way you explain it, I think I would definitely like the poem way more than the movie. But
I love the poem.
I want to
It's
go
so
back and
good.
watch it, and maybe one of my what have I watched this time? I'll explain more my second round. But anyway, Joseph, go ahead.
Yeah, so we're like pretty simpatico this episode because I have the same reaction to you guys coming out of this thing, just being like, I like the visuals. Like the first scene was really cool where they show the crown and he's like on fire. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, it's freaking awesome.
I got that filter on Instagram. It's awesome.
But then
I'm
when
on
I came,
fire.
by the time I came out, I was like, why didn't I like this movie more? There's just something about this movie that I didn't like, and I think Thomas put it the best is that the character didn't like grow a heart at the end. He just like he didn't become a virtuous knight, which I get. That's okay. That's kind of a more postmodern look at this movie. Like you have the pictures of knights when you grow up where they were noble and stuff like that, but then you have in reality knights were just like rich guys that are probably more like this guy than what we imagine knights to be. But I think it's just the movie just doesn't have a heart, and then that really hurts the movie. Like at the end, I actually enjoyed the last scene of the montage of him aging in his kingdom. I thought that was like really cool and interesting. Basically, because that wasn't like in the story. Which I haven't read the poem since high school, so I don't remember much of it. But I this seemed to keep it pretty faithful, like the structure of the story and everything. But it, like you guys were saying, it just didn't have like the same moral, I guess, as the movie. Huh?
So that's one thing I wanted to bring up was that they kept so many things directly from the poem, like word for word in some things, and even how they open it up is in the same poetic Edda, or sorry, not Edda, the Tambra, as like the original poem, which is that weird rhymey type thing. It's Morgan Le Fay talking about Gawain, and it's like this isn't King Arthur's story. This is this one story. And the fact that the Green Knight actually had the wreath of holly as he entered into Camelot, that's right from the poem. I love these tiny little details. And this is an odd detail, is that a big thing about Gawain is that he has the pentangle like across his chest and on his shield. And then in this movie, the pentangle's like the size of a quarter. Like you could barely see it. So I got really confused in this movie about them trying to be super, super faithful to the source material and then at the same time drastically not.
Yeah,
It was very jarring
weird.
at times.
What I think the movie did well was they put like a sense of dread to everything. Like this felt like watching The Witch or something like that. Those kind of like I don't even know Scandinavian horror kind of movies, stuff like that. It did a real good job of putting dread during the whole journey. Like you really thought that maybe he could die at any time during his quest. Like maybe they totally just go different with the story and just have him die or something. That's a good job when you can make your hero seem vulnerable to the world around you. But like we were saying, the heart is just taken out of it. Because like Michael said, he didn't like the part where he chopped his head off, but I thought that was okay because when I saw it, he looked like he was realizing like this is his moment. This is what he has to do. Like this is destiny calling. So he's got to get the sword and he's gonna do something brave.
He's literally holding the sword of destiny.
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
In his hand.
He's like, I need a sword here. Use this one. Just have
How excited would you be if like King Arthur offered you Excalibur? Like, don't F this up, man.
Fool.
Maybe that's why he went for the head, because he's like, I can't lose with this thing. But I think in the original story they're trying to teach him a lesson, but on this one, so when he chops his head off, I was thinking like, okay, this is it. This is where he kind of has this turnaround moment where he's going to start acting brave, more brave, and growing as a character. But he really doesn't, like Michael was saying, he doesn't. And Thomas, he just kind of goes through the whole movie the same. Like he's in it for the glory. He's not really in it for honor or anything. Um, so it just like striking visuals. The music was really good. I thought I really like when he's riding back into the town at the end during that montage. I really liked the hymn they were singing at that part. I thought that was really cool. But yeah, it just for some reason it leaves you with this like empty feeling when you leave the movie, and I don't think that's a very good thing to leave a movie with. So I know I have more stuff to talk about, but I'm gonna throw it to Alex first and see if I can come up with it. So